Hello, kiddos. So today we are going to have a really interesting activity. And this activity I will share with you. We will talk about some of the main features of the activity, some directions that you would need to follow, and some important points that we cannot miss on. Okay. So what is the activity? It's a thinking aloud activity. Now, in this thinking aloud, good readers, when they're reading for comprehension, they would actually ask themselves critical questions about the text. So we're not just reading for the sake of flipping through the pages or, just saying the words. We have to know the meaning of the words. We have to know what the words are telling us, right? We have to ask critical questions about what's happening in the story. Then the next step is to try to predict and find answers to the questions that you were asking, right? So you should know what is causing an event, what was an effect of an event, for example, right? And then another important aspect of thinking aloud is making connections to yourself, connecting to the text, making connections to the world around you. So what you're reading has to have a connection to the things around you. What does it make you think about? How can you relate? Right? Thinking aloud is just like, sometimes when we're getting dressed and we're alone, there's nobody around, but we're talking to ourselves. Would this look good or this look good? Should I wear this shirt or should I wear this pair of jeans? So you're actually talking to yourself. So this is somewhat the same, right? Now, since we've just celebrated the Black History Month, I have chosen a relevant book, right? Which is called Martin's Big Words. And I'm going to take you directly to the book here, and I'm going to model how to think aloud. And once we are done, we're going to be discussing the critical questions. I'll be thinking, you will be thinking, and actively listening and participating. That's your job right now. So you're going to be active listeners, right? So I'm going to take you to the book. Beautiful book. Okay. And we are going to listen to the story, and there will be questions popping up, and I will be discussing and thinking about some points that I have in my head while reading, something I'm confused about, something that's triggering a thought, something of the sort, right? So today's book is called Martin's Big Words, The Life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's written by Doreen Rapport and illustrated by Brian Colliers. So, and the first thing that comes to my mind when I look at that title, Martin's Big Words, and below it says, The Life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. That rings a bell, right? That name. How does it ring a bell? Is there a holiday we celebrate on that name? Yes, there is. So now looking at the title, I'm thinking to myself, what could it be about? The word, big words. What could the story be about? And then when I look at the name of that personality, I'm thinking, is it a real story about someone? And what is a real story about someone called? Does anyone know? Yes, a biography. So yes, part of that we have solved, that it is a biography, right? Let's see. Everywhere in Martin's hometown, he saw the sign, white only. His mother said these signs were in all southern cities and towns in the United States. Every time Martin read the words, he felt bad. And now, when I read that he felt bad, I'm just thinking, If I were in that situation and I saw a sign, since I'm brown, and I saw a sign that said, no brown people allowed, I'm trying to make a connection to myself, right? So, how would you have felt? You also keep thinking about it. How would you have felt if you were in that situation and you were at a place where there was a board which said, only Black people? Think about it. Until he remembered what his mother told him. You are as good as anyone. In church, Martin sang hymns, he read from the Bible, he listened to his father preach. These words made him feel good. When I grow up, I'm going to get big words too. So, here I'm trying to understand what Martin means when he says, I'm going to get big words too. Does that mean he will learn big, long words? Or does that mean that he will become a minister at a church and be preaching, like, with big words from the Bible? Or is he going to become a great reader? What do you think? I'm predicting that he's going to become a very good reader, and he's gonna learn really good vocabulary, and he's gonna be able to speak very well. Let's see what happens. Martin grew up, he became a minister like his father, and he used the big words he had heard as a child from his parents and from the Bible. Everyone can be great. He studied the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi. He learned how the Indian nation won freedom without ever firing a gun. Martin said, love, when others said, hate. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. He said together when others said separate. He said peace when others said war. Sooner or later, all the people of the world will have to discover a way to live together. Now, that phrase, that makes me think again. When we look at the world today and we see these war-torn countries, displaced and hungry children, thousands of people dying in bomb blasts, regardless of their race, color, or religion, in general, were we able to actually learn to live together? What would Martin Luther say if he saw the situation? If he was alive, what would he say about it? I'm thinking. You should also think about it. In 1955, on a cold December day in Montgomery, Alabama, Rosa Parks was coming home from work. A white man told her to get up from her seat on the bus so he could sit. She said no and was arrested. Montgomery's Black citizens learned of her arrest. It made them angry. They decided not to ride the buses until they could sit anywhere they wanted. For 381 days, they walked to work and school and church. They worked in rain and cold and blistering heat. Martin walked with them, and he talked with them, and sang with them, and prayed with them, until the white city leaders had to agree they could sit anywhere they wanted. When the history of books are written, someone will say they lived Black people who had the courage to stand up for their rights. In the next 10 years, Black Americans all over South protested for equal rights. Martin walked with them, and he talked with them, and sang with them, and prayed with them. White ministers told them to stop. Mayors and governors and police chiefs and judges ordered them to stop, but they kept on marching. Wait, For years, I have heard the word wait. We have waited more than 340 years for our rights. They were jailed, they were beaten, and murdered. But they kept on marching. Some Black Americans wanted to fight back with their fists. Martin convinced them not to by reminding them of the power of love. Love is the key to the problems of the world. Many white Southerners hated and feared Martin's words. A few threatened to kill him and his family. His house was bombed. His brother's house was bombed, but he refused to stop. Remember, if I am stopped, the movement will not be stopped because God is with this movement. The marches continued. More and more Americans listened to Martin's words. He shared his dreams and filled them with hope. I have a dream that one day in Alabama, little Black boys and Black girls will join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. After 10 years of protests, the lawmakers in Washington voted to end segregation. The white-only signs in the South came down. So now, looking at the word segregation, that's a new word, and I don't know the meaning. So what do you think I'm going to have to do? So I'm thinking maybe, first of all, try breaking down the word into its parts or its syllables and see if I can find a word that I already know, a root word, an affix or suffix. Segregation. Segregation. I didn't find a root word that I know. So my next step, I think, would be to look at the words that surround the term segregation and try to find the meaning from the context clues. For example, it says that, after 10 years of protests, the lawmakers in Washington had to take down the white-only sign. So white only means no blacks. And that means that what was happening because of these whiteboards? These signs that only white only. That means no black. So they were separated from. So maybe segregation means separated, separation. And this was the end of the separation. Because now that the white only boards were down, that means that Black people were allowed everywhere. So yes, it kind of makes sense. But let's keep thinking about it. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. cared about all Americans. He cared about people all over the world, and people all over the world admired him. In 1964, he won the Nobel Peace Prize. He won it because he taught others to fight with words, not fists. Martin went wherever people needed him. In April 1968, he went to Memphis, Tennessee. He went to help the garbage collectors who were on a strike. He walked with them and talked with them and sang with them and prayed with them. On the second day there, he was shot. He died. His big words are alive for us today. Very sad. The end. I hope you enjoyed. Very sad indeed. But now that I look at this page, and you're looking at this page, so that makes me understand and find answers to my questions about the phrase, I will get my own big words. I'm able to understand that now. Did you understand too? You see the words freedom, peace, together, I have a dream, love. His big words are the words he used to fight hatred with love. He used the words together instead of separate or segregate. Martin's big words have kept his spirit alive and will be engraved in history forever. So what do you notice at the end of each page is, if you noticed, in the quotation marks, there was always a phrase of a bunch of words that actually had meaning. Every single one of them. Those were his big words. And that's what made him what he was. And that's why he lives on, even after he has died. So now we will go back to our Edpuzzle now, the video. You will go back, sign in, click on the link from the Google slide that I've shared in your Google Classroom, and you will go and answer these questions. There's an option to record your responses with a voice message, or you can type it, or you can even share pictures from the web to put in there. So make it as fun as possible and keep thinking aloud to read while you're reading and make it more meaningful, right? So I'll come and meet you guys as you do your independent work. Thank you.